The Steelers. Let's talk about one of the greatest defensive players that ever wore the black and yellow. We're talking about Troy Polamalu.
That's saying a lot, too.
My guy just retired after 12 years in the NFL. And what can I say, man? The impact that he had on the field, the character that he portrayed off the field, he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Fame player. He's going to be somebody that everybody talks about, continuously year after year. And, the thing I think about with Polamalu, man, is just the way he kind of changed the game for the safety position. Back in the day when you had Ronnie Lott, it was just basically take your head off at the safety position. But then with Troy Polamalu, you got Ed Reed, you got guys they're kind of ball hawks. They get back there, they can make plays. And with Polamalu, he was just all over the field. You had to scheme against him because he was good in the running game. He can play linebacker in some schemes. He was blitzing. He was running and with wide receivers. He was back deep as a safety and catching balls. I mean, he was doing pretty much everything for this team. And as an offensive offensive coordinator, you really had to think about where the guy is on the field. What can I do to make sure that we're staying away from him? Because if you give him free range and he can just think off of instinct because he's a smart player, he's going to make an impact play, and it's going to really kind of change the tide. You look at his career, he's 8 Pro Bowls, 5-time All-Pro player, Defensive Player of the Year, 2-time Super Bowl champion. You think about the locks. You think about, his heritage being Samoan. This guy is just one of the greatest that ever played the position. And in my opinion, I think he is the greatest that ever played the position. No offense to Ed Reed. I love what Ed Reed has brought to the table, but Ed Reed does not do as much as Polamalu has done as far as being in the run game, being all over the field, and just making an impact and causing chaos everywhere.
Steve, I think that's your time.
So, Ty, I'm sorry that you're feeling a little bad about that, but that's how I feel about it, especially with the Steelers. He goes in my book, in my catalog with, Mean Joe Green, Jack Lambert, and you think Troy Polamalu as top 3 defensive players for the Steelers of all time. So I'm going to let you guys talk about it, but obviously you can see I'm letting my Steelers blood, my Steelers feelings kind of, spew out a little bit. But, hey, I love the guy. He's going to be a Hall of Fame person. And like I said, I think he's the best. But over to you guys.
Well, I know one person on the show that's disappointed with that answer, Ty.
All right, so here's the scoop. Next week, we're going to put you in Shed's block. We're going to call it Capetra's cul-de-sac. And you can – but you talking about the Vikings. Steve, go and stay over there. First of all, Ed Reed is the GOAT, okay? Now, Polamalu was involved in the pass game and more so in the run game, but he didn't return no punt returns like Ed Reed. But this isn't about Ed Reed. It's about
Troy. You put him back there, I bet he would, though.
Troy retiring. Hats off. Speaking of hats off again, face, defensive, that hair, it helped. He was a playmaker. I think about, remember that they won the Super Bowl, they faced the Titans on the opening game, that one-handed pick he had. Or, those early years where Joe Flacco and the Ravens were about to win the game and he comes off the edge and forces a fumble. Who could forget? Just great player.
Exactly.
Shout out to Ike Taylor as well.
I think that the Steelers are losing a great asset to their team. When it comes to the whole Ed Reed thing, you bring up good points.
I usually do.
Very good points. But then when you think about how Troy was focused in one position and then dominated there and left his impact, and that's a hard position to leave your impact. So when you take all that into account, I think he has definitely, when it comes to that, he's the greatest.
True.
And we're going to miss him.
Well, I guess I have to make a decision here. Polamalu is great. Ed Reed is great. They are both going to the Hall of Fame. They both are definitely first ballot Hall of Famers, but they were different at what they would do. Ed Reed was definitely the center field back there. You throw it anywhere up in the back, and it's pretty much a pick six.
Don't let that ball get deflected.
Yeah, exactly. And Polamalu was, a Tasmanian devil. He could go sideline to sideline with the best of them. It was
up and over.
Up and over, sideline to sideline, up and over. You kind of think about this class of safeties that's pretty much almost eligible for the Hall of Fame. You have those two. Then you have somebody like John Lynch who dominated the cover two. You have my favorite safety of all time. Mr. Weapon X himself, Brian Dawkins from the Philadelphia Eagles, whose potential for the Hall of Fame is coming up very soon too as well. So you have a lot of Hall of Fame, some of those iconic safety figures eligible for a Hall of Fame. And it's kind of like Baskin Robbins, whatever your flavor is, you get different flavors and everything.
It's a hard position to quantify. It's a hard position to quantify for sure. I mean, because the skill level, like I read Flacco was saying that he used to just purposely throw away from Troy.
Don't blame him.
Don't blame him.
So then, I mean, that's not numbers there, but that's respect.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Respect.
That's what it boils down to is respect.
Definitely respect. But I would have to say, Brian Dawkins is the only man in a game to German suplex somebody and get away with it. That's respect.